Stasiak. Oh,
There you go.
Why do I always mess that up? We're back with Colin here, and we were just talking about an MVP renewal. So you have a SQL Server. He's up in Edmonton, Canada. We were going to, learn a little bit about you. Tell us about yourself.
Sure. I went to college when I was graduating from college when I was 17, doing computer systems technology,
Wow.
and I found I really liked doing SQL Server work, so I immediately started working with SQL Server. And for probably the first 7-8 years of my career, I was just kind of like more of a watching the community and kind of just sucking everything out of them and not really giving anything back, and just kind of reading all the blogs and watching all the presentations and
Right.
And then I switched to being an independent consultant, and I'm like, seems like a good idea that people need to kind of know who I am too.
Absolutely.
So I started blogging and doing more speaking engagements, stuff like that, and it's just kind of grown and grown and grown. And this is my my first summit where I'm actually a speaker here. So
nice.
I got 2
Congratulations.
sessions here. So yeah, it's
let's talk about those
little
too.
stressful.
We'll get to those. We'll get to those in just a moment. I want to know. We'll tell the viewers what sessions you're doing, and
Sure.
maybe they can catch some of it online as well. The power of really past summit is being here. Right?
Oh, yeah.
The opportunity to network, the opportunity to meet the speakers.
Especially being from Canada, I don't get a lot of opportunity to see all the people. Like when you're in the States, there's SQL Saturdays that are just kind of one state over, real kind of close. You can drive there and see a bunch of people. But for me, this is it. This is the once a year where I get to see like all my SQL family, what they call it, and everything. And
Exactly.
I'm sure you've heard that lots already. And
Absolutely.
it's just great to be able to be around everyone and just like-minded people, excited to teach other people and learn stuff and do stuff. So.
Absolutely. And you want to do a little shout out for Edmonton, Canada. I mean, what are you doing up there? What about your peeps up for SQL? What are they doing up there right now?
Well, they should all be working up there. But
Well, they should be here. They should be here. But they're probably working or both, a combination.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
you got some user groups going on up there. You got a SQL Saturday. What you got going?
We don't have SQL Saturday yet.
Okay.
I want to do a SQL Saturday this
Okay.
year, but we do have a Edmonton Pass chapter. I started that probably about 5 years ago, and there's Harry's the president there now, working on that, and they have user group meetings every month or so, and lots of times it's remote sessions because it's just hard to find speakers locally and all that.
Right.
So I try and speak there whenever I can, and it's a good group. They usually get 20, 30 people out. It's a fair sized group, but more local speakers would be great.
Yeah, for sure. Well, good job on that. I also understand you're a great singer. By the way, you can follow all the karaoke going on at #SQL Karaoke, right? You're the karaoke guy, or supposedly you can do a good job.
Once a year it happens.
Rumor has it.
Once a year it happens, and it's always fun, and it's.
Yeah. Is there a contest? Tell us a little bit about it. SQL, especially if you're a karaoke fan.
Yeah, no.
SQL Karaoke.
No,
right?
no contest or anything like that. It's just everyone it's an excuse to get out with each other outside kind of the conference environment and have a couple drinks or not have a couple drinks and just have fun and go up there and
It's heard
have fun with
pretty big crowd, I guess, right?
Last night it's Fox and Hound we were at, and that was a big crowd. It was pretty crowded in there, and but they handled it well, and it was free drinks and good times and lots of singing.
Always a great networking opportunity.
Yeah, oh, for sure.
So, Colin, you got 2 sessions. Tell us about them.
Yeah,
the first session.
I submitted 2 sessions in. I'm like, oh, I hope I get one. And then I got the email like, you got this session. Oh, and by the way, you got this session too.
Nice.
I was like, oh no, I don't want to. But I'm honored that I have 2.
Okay.
The first one I'm doing is on Thursday on policy-based management.
Okay.
I co-authored a book with Jorge Segarra and Ken Simmons.
Nice.
A few years ago on policy-based management.
Okay.
And then my one on Friday is on Windows Azure, comparing the different offerings that are available against on-premise. So.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Yeah, Azure's been a lot of where I've been working, spending most of my time.
It's a hot topic for sure.
Yes.
And I was like, oh, I hope I get that session, but then I end up getting 2, and so it's a little stressful. Especially they announced CTP2 for 2014,
right?
Which made 2 of my demos obsolete.
Oh, really?
So after this interview, I'm actually going back to my hotel and redoing 2 of my demos because I don't want to go through the demo and be like, oh, by the way, this is useless to you now.
It's been deprecated from the
Exactly.
product, right? Yeah.
Whoops.
Yeah.
I figured I had 2 days so I could work in the new demos there and work it out.
You still going to do the showdown? Is that planned or
Showdown.
The SQL Server Showdown? It
Yeah,
says?
that's the one on Azure.
Okay,
That's
gotcha.
the Azure one
Okay,
there.
all right.
It's basically a showdown comparing Windows Azure SQL Database versus Windows Azure VM hosting SQL Server
Right.
versus on-premise, the pros and cons, when you should do
Awesome.
which of them, and all that kind of
Yeah,
stuff.
platform as a service with just SQL in the cloud.
Yeah.
IaaS with the full-blown server and SQL on
And
top of that.
It's a 100 level session too.
Oh,
'Cause
good.
A lot of people are
All right.
like, oh, I just hear the cloud, it's everywhere, but I don't really know. This is to get you going, get you more interested, and kind of be your gateway drug into the more deeper
Yeah.
sessions on cloud stuff.
Right, because
So-
there's a lot there, especially
is,
when you
for
get into
sure.
the Azure, from virtual machines to the SQL, to even working with networking and storage.
Oh, yeah.
There's a lot there, and there's a lot that you can do. So, any last things to close the interview?
I hope Jason Strait is watching. He didn't get a chance to come here this year. He had his 40th birthday, I think, last month.
Happy birthday.
Shout out to the SQL unicorn, Jason Strait.
Yeah, absolutely. Good, that was a good one. Well, Colin, pleasure
Hey.
being on Past TV.
Thanks a lot.
And thank
Appreciate
you.
it.
All right. Next, we've got another interview coming up right after this, and in fact, he's coming up to the table now, Kendall Van Dyke. And so we're going to have a good interview with Kendall. And Kendall, how you doing?
Hey Blaine, how are
Welcome.
you? Good to see
Doing
you again.
Fantastic, thank you. So I bumped into you a little bit earlier. Look at this, look at the crowd.
Yeah, this is
people
great.
just shaking and moving. It's all about networking. It's all about being involved in the community as well as Past Summit and seeing the sessions and seeing the speakers, talking to them. So you're a principal consultant for Upsearch SQL?
Yep, I work
Right.
with a friend of mine, Alan White. He's out of Cleveland. I'm out of Orlando.
Okay, well,
we're
yeah, and I'm down in
remote
Tampa,
DBA
so
services.
we're kind of in the local Florida area together. So tell us first, before we kick the interview out, let's tell me a little bit about yourself.
Okay.
Like how you got started, maybe your background, like
Sure.
in school, and then all the way through. How did you get to where you're sitting right here,
Sure,
being
sure.
on Past TV?
So I actually started off as a VB6 developer way back in the day.
Nice,
Yeah,
nice.
And I became that classic accidental DBA. I started asking all the questions about databases and how this stuff works and what does this mean for this index over here. And
Right.
lo and behold, I was the guy who ended up knowing more about SQL Server than anybody else.
Okay.
And sort of just grew from there. In 2006, I actually came up to Orlando. I was living in Naples at the time. Came up to Orlando, I met Andy Warren, and he encouraged me to come and speak at OPAS at his user group.
Excellent.
And things really took off from there.
That's-
A couple of SQL Saturdays after that, I started coming to the summit. A few years after that, I started another user group in the south end of Orlando, and here we are 5 years later, and the rest is history.
That's fantastic. Yeah. So you have a booth down here on the floor, or
Oh, no, we're not sponsoring.
Okay, not sponsoring this year.
not this
But
year.
what sessions are really you're looking at forward to attending today?
Well, mine, of course.
Well, I'll do a shout out for yours about
Yeah.
is that document and diagnose your servers on your coffee break?
Yes, so
All right.
I actually am talking Thursday morning. I've got a project that I put out on Codeplex that uses Windows
Okay.
PowerShell.
Nice.
To go out and find your SQL servers, document them, documents Windows as well, and then it does some performance analysis on them, gives you some suggestions about best practices and things that you might want to consider doing to keep your things running optimally.
Definitely, especially with PowerShell. I mean, if you don't know PowerShell, it kind of forced into doing the scripting part of it.
Yep.
It's definitely something you want to put in your toolbox as you move forward. PowerShell is going to be there to stay, so it's a place to get started. You just have one session, or do you have two?
I've got two. So I've
Okay.
actually got a half-day session on Friday afternoon. I'm talking about disaster recovery and high availability, and I'm just going to give a broad overview of all of the things that come built into SQL Server.
Okay, excellent, excellent. So your experiences as a speaker, what kind of brought you into doing that? What makes you feel so comfortable getting up in front of people and evangelizing, if you will, all the great sessions you're going to do?
Well, I think it's really easy actually when you have faced a problem at work and it's something that you thought through, you figured out the solution to. You get up there and it's really easy to actually talk about it because you've got that experience.
Yes.
And then once you've done it once or twice, something really takes hold of you, and you start liking actually getting up in front of people, and you realize it's really great when you can share your experience with somebody and they come back to you afterwards and they say, hey, thanks, you really helped me solve this problem that I was having. That's a really good feeling when you get that.
That's great. As we kind of close the interview here, can you tell us a little about the company, Upsearch,
Sure.
and Upsearch SQL?
Sure.
What you do
So
and-
we're a SQL Server practice.
Okay.
Alan White and I we do remote DBA services.
Nice.
So we're looking at companies who maybe you don't have a full-time DBA, but you want a part-time DBA, or maybe you have a project that you need some expertise that you don't have on staff, and so that's where we come in. We're both MVPs, and we both have a background in development and doing DBA type of things that most folks might not have on staff, and that's where we help out.
Right. So as you get to become an MVP, how long have you been an MVP?
I just was awarded my 3rd time back in October.
Excellent,
So,
congratulations.
thank you.
So, kind of moving up that, getting involved, going to some of the sessions, going to some of the conferences, going to SQL Saturdays.
Yep.
That all helps you in your, not only your experience and knowledge, but also to get to be MVP, right?
Absolutely.
So
right.
what's kind of take us into real quick, as we're wrapping up the interview here, is kind of take me into that transition, right? I mean, you're not an MVP, but
Right.
you're working, doing SQL work, and then all of a sudden you're going and being involved, right?
Right,
It's about
right.
being networking and being involved
Right.
to move into MVP.
Well, I think it's an important thing to recognize that for some people it's okay, but that really the motivation to become an MVP is not that you're doing it to become an MVP. It's sort of a consequence of what you do. You really do it because you're passionate. You care about sharing things with others. You enjoy doing that. And you realize that as you get involved with the community, you start meeting other people who know things, and you start building that network. And it just becomes natural. You start saying, okay, this is great. I can write about this. I can share this experience. You love that feedback you get from people. And then eventually, once you've done enough, it just sort of becomes a natural consequence that, holy cow, Microsoft thinks I'm an MVP. That's awesome.
Right, and it does hold a lot of value in the community too.
Sure.
And so I really appreciate your time today, Kendall Van Dyke, and he's been with Upsearch SQL. So thanks a lot for being on the show.
Thanks for having me.
All right, anytime. So with that, make sure you're following Past TV at the hashtag PastTV out on Twitter. And with that, we've got another interview coming up shortly. So we're just getting Quentin Clark. So we got corporate vice president of program management for Microsoft Data Platform Group. I've been waiting for this interview. It's going to be a great interview. He did the keynote this morning, and so we're going to be right back in just a moment. Thanks.